Professor Osinbajo, GCO, you're most welcome, sir.
It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the presentation of the book, Politics That Works, and the bringing together of the old and aspiring politicians to discuss the future of politics in our dear nation. Nigeria is ripe for transitioning. The appetite of the nation is sharply changing and craving for more useful, innovative, and genuine governance. The future we desire for our dear nation is anchored on the mobilization, equipping, and positioning of more youthful minds in position of power to transform our political space and to creatively upgrade our public sector to the point where it can rub shoulders with first world nations. This is why we are here today. The future of politics is one that is driven by young people, organized by technology, and fired by a competitive pursuit for world standard excellence. The underlying motive behind the argument put forward by this book is a better future for Nigeria, and that future can only be made possible by a new kind of politics. In our political history, since the former creation of Nigeria, there have been three major eras. Each new era was the result of the toil, sweat, and blood of a generation that chose to stand out. First, we had the colonial era, the age of the British rule, where men like the likes of our grandfathers and fathers, the Awolowos, the Azikiwes, Enahoros, Imodu, Amadu Bellos, Ijumus, Funmilayo Ransome Kutis, Margaret Eppos, fought in their time for independence and came out victorious. It was this generation that handed over to us an independent nation. Next was the era of the military rule, the ones who seized power and rode roughshod over us and took away our freedom to choose. The next generation, those currently between ages 14 and 70, threw themselves in with everything they had and fought really hard. Some were slain, others were incarcerated for many years, while some others fled the country to stay alive. This was a fight that had been arrested about 15 times between 1993 and 1998, and on one of those times locked up in solitary confinement for 8 months, wearing only a single piece of clothing. Those days are still fresh in our memory. The harrowing tales of the experience of fellow comrades linger in our thoughts, a sad reminder of the dark days it is. That was a fight for freedom that had our newspapers and magazines operating in the dark, shifting base from pillar to post as they were declared prohibited and the operators declared wanted by the military government. The newspaper operations became a mobile enterprise in what has come to be known as guerrilla journalism. It was a fight that had my colleagues, Kunle Ajibade and Chris Anyanwu, jailed for life for a coup they knew nothing about. A fight that killed many of my comrades and colleagues, including my enterprising correspondent in Kaduna, Mr. Bagauda Kalto. The list of the victims of this epoch is endless, and the harrowing cries from the cells of fellow inmates sometimes still keep me awake. That fight also had people like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Wole Soyinka, Dapo Oloruyomi, Bayo Onanuga, General Ani Olakinyade, Dr. Amos Akingba, Chief Anthony Ehenarolo, and a host of others run for their lives and take asylum in other countries. We eventually came out victorious, and democracy was put in place, but unfortunately we were too angry, tired, and sometimes, and in some cases shy, to make a bold bid for power. Imagine if elements such as Osinbajo had returned to the east to take over power, Owe Ilakeva had gone with other of our comrades to the south-south, and Femi Falana and several activists of that period from southwest had held sway in politics. Imagine if it were the elements like Saliu Lukman, Tony Akika, who were the deciders in the north. The story would have been different today. We all were looking for a purity of circumstance, and as a result of this, we dropped the baton and let evil elements in our generation take over the mantle of leadership. It is that realization that the nation is endangered in the hands of those clueless inheritors that brought a General Muhammadu Buhari out of his retirement. You all could see the hell he went through before he could wrestle power from them. Even now, they are still vicious and unrelenting in their opposition to him. Now it is the turn of the new generation to fight. You are fighting hard on the social media. Many of you are full of anger that you have almost been consumed by abusing everybody and throwing tantrums. Many of you have even gone as far as denigrating, hating and cursing your country, Nigeria. Some have lost hope completely and talking about the second option. A number of others are withdrawing to their ethnic cocoon, breeding hate, weaving lies, sowing seeds of discord, manufacturing fakery, reaching out to the depth of the sewage to look for heroes. This cannot be right. Anger solves no problem. It will only lead to despondency and frustration. It is time to take a new approach, a positive one that will be beneficial to all. It is time for today's youth to take the right tools with the right understanding and strategy to chart a course for their generation. We believe the struggle after independence, after democracy, is a struggle for development. The responsibility is on the young generation, the incoming leaders, to hand over a developed nation in the league of first world countries to their own children. You can only do that by getting involved and participating meaningfully. You have the energy, you have the intelligence. The internet, thank God, has exposed you to myriads of information and developmental options. What is left is for you to have the right compass to enable you to take over the politics and governance of our country. Time is not on your side. The bad, as well as the crooked elements among your generation are hankering for power, and they have amassed wealth from all manners of dubious means. God forbid. If you don't make haste and make the right moves today, they will, using their ill-gotten wealth, shut you out of governance, and that will be very dangerous for you and for the future of our country. Not long ago, the Arab Spring swept through the Middle East. It was driven by a crop of educated youths with a deep understanding of their nation, of their terrain, and a sound vision of liberal politicking with developmental principles derived from social networking. They use innovative means to standardize their public service. It is time for you, the Nigerian youths, to deploy your enlightened minds, your ingenuity, your creativity, and exposure to rebuild our nation. Some will say, but your generation and the generation before you are holding tightly to power. How exactly do young ones take over? How would the angry and sometimes tactless youth get in the political ring with the old, experienced and powerful politicians and win? This is the gap myself and Alex Adekunle James, a member of your generation, have collaborated to fill through the book we are presenting and the mentorship program we are launching today. The Politics That Works book, first of its kind in Nigeria, is a step-by-step guide that answers the many questions limiting youth dominance of our political space. The book makes an attempt at providing a strategic way for young people to play around the current obstacles and attain political office without compromising their values. We seek through this book to bring the new generation of politicians out of their confusion and hand them the takeover baton. We will help the youth understand what politics that works entails. We are going to unveil the superior grassroots strategies they can employ to build the odds while holding tightly to their values. This initiative does not stop with the book. We have also put together a continuity of sustainability plan for the Politics That Works community, where interested youths can sign up onto the mentorship program to learn real politics, be mentored by the grandmasters, and get support to participate, run, and get into office. Thank God today, we have with us as special guest of honor, the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Osinbajo, a youth-friendly leader, a man who is cooled in the past, active in the present, and willing to be a bridge to the future. His speeches and actions has indicated that he is willing to hold your hand and lead you to be masters of your destiny. You have also watched our leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, and his partners in progress build the foundation and put in place the German floor. The one who will come after will lay the blocks and put a solid roof. The finishing will be that of your generation to do. It's a hope that we will come up with a beautiful, enduring, and long-lasting edifice. What you therefore need to realize is that no builder builds well without undergoing a period of apprenticeship. It is time for you to sign on and learn. Once again, I welcome you to this historic event The politics of the official conference, a long overdue conversation between three categories of political stakeholders: the old and established politicians, the fresh and young politicians, and the aspiring politicians, to chart a course for the future of Nigerian politics. It promises to be the most insightful conversation on politics you have been a part of. Thank you, and have a great time.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, I have to confess that I came here just to enjoy myself, to listen to those who have the answers.
You were recruited.
And I came ready enough so that I'm not locked out. Only to be told, I believe by this man, he kidnapped me here and said, I have to feel, I have to participate as a discussant because somebody was absent. And I protested. I'm a union man, it's not fair. I'm not going to notice now to make me to speak first, make it worse. But let me ask the question, you know, I think that sometimes as a nation, we seem to have some kind of short memory. For me, the issue in Nigeria is not about age. What defines the character of government is the character of those governing. If you are young and you are a robber, and you cheated your way to gain admission to university, and you pay for package share for your lecturer to get your marks, and you even bring your way to student union government, and you are now elected as whatever, legislative or executive, does the fact of being youthful makes a difference. The background I'm coming from would rather emphasize the values that people represent. There are right-wing young people and there are progressive young people. There are young people who are far to the right, who believe that society should be organized and everybody to himself, God for all of us. There are also young people who believe that it is not right for the destiny of a nation to be left strictly in the hands of market forces, because the social purpose of government does not coincide with the profit motive of private enterprise. These are the kind of values that, for me, I want debating. If I am young and I do not believe in certain core values, the fact of being beautiful for me is nothing. But let me make this substantive point. Nigeria has substantially been governed by young people. How old was General Gowon when he became the head of state and commander-in-chief of Nigeria? You have to answer the question because you knew what we are going to be discussing. I don't know. Number two, in 1999, of the 36 state governors, majority of them were under 50, some under 40 or very early 40s. And I was wanted to join a group we called under 50. And somehow, I don't want to look for trouble, but that is why I don't talk these days. Because truth in Nigeria can be extremely hazardous, and it can lead to retrenchment. Do you remember the group of governors that my very dear friend, big brother, President Olusegun Obasanjo called Owafe governors, who took taxpayers' money, flew to London to go and celebrate the birthday of a young governor? This is 1999. This is not 1960. Sorry, 1999, not 1960, not 1970. These were young people. I think it is very dangerous for us to reduce governance and issues in government to the question of what is your age, even the question of what is your gender. I read a literature when I was not younger. I was in the UK as a student, And these statisticians were able to document convincingly that when Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, women's share of national income dropped compared to when her predecessors, men, were occupying the same office. Which will say that even when we're talking about gender, the issue is what value drives a woman, not the fact of the skirt or blouse that she wears. It's our heart. So I want us to move away from this one rubbish or what people are young, everything is fine. Today, Mr. Vice President, you are here, you chaired the National Economic Council, and I was privileged to be chaired by you for some time before I got to where I am. Did you really find any correlation between the values, the ideas, the performance, the competencies of people who occupy executive positions, and in your own case, for those who occupy legislative positions? Do you find some correlation between the views they parrot, the positions they take, their idea of society? Was it any correlation between their age and those views and those ideas? I haven't found it. I find elderly people who are caring, who believe that Nigeria can do better and they have idea of how it can be managed. I also have young people who think that, you know, life is a superhighway, what we used to call J5 buses. So, excuse me, I don't want to be misunderstood. The young people have a right to participate and to be active in every sphere of life. I mean, those who run and the great veteran American society, the Facebook people, the Twitters and so on, they are young people. So it's about what do we do differently in government to reorientate our people to recognize the world is not ideologically, governance is not value-free. Government is value-driven. Who gets what? It's a conscious decision.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you for
thank you, sir.
working with the management.
No, just imagine if I gave you notice.
Professor Osinbajo, GCOM, the 14th Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I took the time to mention those who are former senators and former governors to continue to make the point that had been made earlier, that these people don't want to go anywhere. Senator Femi Ojudu and Mr. James, thank you very much for the very kind invitation.
You have to hold this one.
To be a part of the launch of this very important work. Politics at Work, what schools and seminars will teach you about winning elections. This is a book co-authored by the two gentlemen. But I think there are two important promises contained in this whole effort. The first is that this book will teach what we don't know already about winning elections and the sorts of things that are not taught anywhere. And frankly, those who are here, I can name a few who can teach us so many things about what no one has yet taught you about winning elections. As a matter of fact, when I came into politics, I really thought I knew all about, I was always on the sidelines watching, and I really thought I knew all that could possibly happen in politics. Having been in one way or the other involved. But I can assure you that the past few years have taught me that there is still so much that you cannot even be taught in any book. You cannot, no matter what the book may say. Because there are too many wonderful things that happen. And I'm sure that those of us who have been participants, will probably be able to tell you that there are just too many wonderful things that can happen. The second is that this is an intergenerational effort. One between the 60-something-year-old Senator Femi Ojuju, and the 20-something, I believe, year-old Alex Adekunle James. So both are trying to teach important lessons here. That the best way that this will work is where there is an intergenerational handshake, the young and the old, as opposed to any attempt to defy the tenets of liberal politics by saying that it is one group or the other. The type of politics that we all prefer, or that most of us will prefer, is liberal politics. Free enterprise, democracy, individual freedoms. It means that there can be no discrimination, either on the basis of age, or gender, or political persuasion. So that is why we negotiate our way through these things. And I think the point was made by some of the speakers. So in liberal democracy, it's about negotiation. Gender, there will be negotiations on the basis of gender. Women will say we don't have representation. Young people will say we don't have representation. And then we'll start talking about quotas or affirmative action or some solution or the other. And the simple reason is that the very basis of liberal democracy is that everybody is invited to the table. How you get there, and I liked some of what has been said, whether you bring your table there or your chair there yourself, or you get there through the window, however you get there. Not you get there. I'm very strongly of the view that everyone must be invited to this party. The important thing is to ensure that we have, as well as possible, a level playing field, as well as that is possible. Now, the problem also with liberal politics is money. Is money. Who has resources? Yes. Because resources will also, to a large extent, determine who can play the game. So, for example, a person, somebody, I don't want to go into any of the names, but somebody who has a major company today, who has resources, will probably be able to get into the game faster than a 60-year-old man with all his experience, but no money. So there is that as well. So there are barriers, and I think that what is important is for us to see how we can remove those barriers as much as possible so that there is a level playing field. What I've experienced just in serving in the position of Vice President for the past few years, and having the opportunity to bring on board young people and some old people too, elderly people in relative terms, is that the quality of contributions is not necessarily defined by age. And that's the honest truth. I have so many young people who work with me, very brilliant young people who work with me. And they are not intimidated, I must tell you, by anybody older than them sitting at the table. They're just not intimidated. So I have the youngest person who was working with me is 22 years old. Right? Next year, just came out of university and all of that. But extremely brilliant. And very very assertive. Extremely assertive. She knew her onions. And I had, same with me. And of course, Ahmad, who spoke a few minutes ago, 37-year-old, is special advisor on infrastructure. I have a special advisor on political affairs who is 60-year-old, or Dr. or Ambassador Diko, who is also probably close to 60. But then there are so many, very young people. Balkis Rusaidu, who is sitting over there, is my legal advisor. She's a senior special assistant legal, right? And Balkis has an interesting history. Balkis was married off at the age of 13, had her first child at the age of 14, right? Through all of that, her mom made sure that she got education, and she's today a professor. She's a professor today, right? And she's still under the age of 40, right? With all of that, has 3 kids, 3 grown kids, but she's under the age of 40. right. But the truth of the matter is she comes to the job with experience, the kind of experience that nobody else has. She comes to the job with, with a variety of ideas. Tola Johnson, everyone who is here. So I think we must focus our minds a little more on what people bring to the table. What are you bringing to the table? I don't engage on the basis of age because I've realized. I mean, we started. I was just asking Raul. I met Raul for the first time when we were the transition committee in 1999, or the transition committee of Lagos State, the new Lagos State government then. He was barely 42 years old. I was just about the same age at that time. We had served, he had served as active, he was campaign manager for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's campaign at that time. He was his campaign manager and ran the entire operation. He ran all the entire campaign. He was not much younger then when he was campaign manager, but he's been at it since then. I was coming into this. I've been advisor to the Attorney General of the Federation when I was 31. So I had some coming into this. So there is a place also, and I think Babatunde Rukara made the point that there's a place for preparation. There's a place for getting ready. It's no point saying that I've become Minister for Finance at the age of 25 because I'm a smart kid. It takes more than that. If you're going to deal in the Nigerian system, in this system of ours, to work through all that is required to be able, I think you need some experience. You need a bit of experience. You don't have to be very old, but it helps if you've served in one capacity or the other as a special advisor, special assistant, whatever. All of those positions are very central positions. And I don't agree, unfortunately, that a special assistant or PA is somewhat, it's not a very serious position. It is. Every special assistant that we have, these ones I have, all of them take very important decisions, and they take those important decisions on their own. They are the place, and the truth is that the way governments are set up, everybody can play very seriously. Depends on how serious you are. It just depends on how serious. You will find a 50-year-old man who is lazy, who has no ideas. You will find a 23-year-old man who is lazy, has no ideas. Hopefully, in a few years, you might get brighter and might get more, you might start doing some more serious work. But my experience is that everybody, they're just such a variety of people and a variety of talents, and some are older than others, some are younger, male or female. So I really would like us to zero in on the real needs of our nation. I think this country needs the best minds. We have, if you look at all of the variety of talents that we have everything that it takes for a great country. But it is the coming together of like minds, the coming together of people who agree on the same things, old or young. I don't think we should divide ourselves along those lines, because this country can be great, but we need that coming together of the very best minds, whether they're women, male, female, men, or of whatever age. So I think that our central, for me, my central concern is how do we get, the very best people to work in the interest of this country? How do we get the very best people to project the image of the country? And I must say that politics, and especially partisan politics, has not necessarily delivered on a lot of the promises that you expect from partisan politics. What you find is that many times you're disappointed by even just the results, and what happens, the whole process, those who are able to get a chance to go forward. So sometimes you're disappointed, but that's the nature of democracy. My view is that we must continue to work at it. We must continue to make the sacrifice that is required to be able to get our views across. And we must continue to organize to do so. We can't give up. We can't say, well, things are so difficult. It's so difficult to enter the space, and so we throw up our arms. If we keep at it, one day we'll get the right results, we'll get the right mix. Every country deserves excellent leadership and deserves the best it can get. But excellent leadership doesn't come by accident. It doesn't come, by a lack of effort. We just have to keep making the effort. I was telling someone the other day that when we were talking about the police, I was saying that a country, one of the UK, for example, dissolved its police force almost 3 times. Just dissolved and started again. 3 times before it got it right. So a country evolves, people evolve, ideas evolve. So we mustn't be afraid of even where we are today. When people look and say, things are so bad that I've never seen it always be careful about people who are always talking of the good old days, Be careful. They either have a loss of memory or there is something else. But all that good old days thing. People will tell you that, many years ago, things were so great. In fact, sometimes today when you hear people talking about some good old days, you wonder whether we were not in the same country. So we mustn't give up in that process, and we mustn't keep looking back. The challenges of today are meant for those of us who are here and alive today. And they are meant to be solved by young people. And as I always say, there is no better time to be alive. This is the best time to be young. This is the best time in Nigeria to be young. Those who are young today have the best opportunity ever. In my own day, when I was a professor, if I had to research to write an article, it will take me weeks. Today, I can just, with my iPad, I can get onto any library anywhere in the world and get all the information and write my article in hours, rather than weeks or months or years. It was Farid Zakaria, the CNN guy, who was saying once that in your smartphone, and the smartphones we carry today, our smartphones carry 100 times more power than the Apollo spacecraft that took men to the moon. Just the smartphones that you and I have today carry 100 times more power, more computing power. So our generational challenges have the generational solutions. Let's stop complaining. Let's just face the issues and solve them. Whether we're in government or we're planning to get into government, however we want to do it, let's just get to the table and solve some of these problems. I'd like to thank the authors of this great book, and I've had an opportunity to look at the book, and I think it's going to be very, very, very worthwhile reading for those of you who haven't seen it yet or who haven't read it, and especially those who want to go into politics. It promises, as the authors have said, to be a manual for being able to get into, not just to get nominated, but also to win, to actually win the election. I'm also looking forward to studying the book more closely, because we still have elections. Thank you very much. It is my very special pleasure and privilege to perform the official unveiling ceremony of this book, Politics That Works, What Schools and Seminars Won't Teach You About Winning Elections, by Alex Adekunle James and Senator Babafemi Ojudu, for the benefit of all politicians and aspiring politicians and all of those interested in winning elections and the glory of God.